Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. I'm your host, Robin L. Owens, Ph.D. And this is where we dive in each week to give advice, tools, and tips for high-achieving women leaders. And we talk about leadership purpose and its importance for you. I am a college professor, and when I am not doing that, I am speaking, writing, coaching, mentoring, and teaching high-achieving women leaders how to find, and not only find, but how to stay in alignment with their leadership purpose so they can make a meaningful difference right there in their career, leadership, or business. Okay, let's dive in. Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Robin, and we're back for another episode today. And today we are here with Maureen McIntosh-Alberts. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Maureen. She is Maureen McIntosh-Alberts, Ph.D., a certified leadership coach. She's a trainer and an international management consultant and a motivational speaker. So she has a lot going on. And as a leadership coach, she evokes excellence in leaders, challenging them to maximize their potential by living value-centered lives. She's also an applied behavior scientist and organizational development specialist. As such, she specializes in facilitating organizational change interventions and in designing and delivering cross-cultural and diversity training to support the career advancement of staff in multicultural organizations. Dr. McIntosh-Alberts launched her professional career in the area of human and organizational development about 25 years ago. She has worked in international development organizations such as the Organization of American States and the World Bank in D.C. Welcome, Dr. Maureen McIntosh-Alberts. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Dr. Robin. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you took time out of your busy schedule, and especially when I know that's all that's going on for you this week, that you're taking time out to have this conversation with us. All right, so let's just jump right in. You heard me kind of give your official sort of bio introduction. Why don't you tell everybody in your own words more about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so what I did 30 years ago, 40 years ago is what I do today. I spend my time helping leaders maximize their potential in life and in the work that they do. I didn't know, for example, that that's what I was doing. It came very natural to me. As a first child of 10 children, for example, and being in a home where there are other kids, I found myself having to set the example for those kids that I was growing up with, my siblings, cousins. And I found that I loved to be able to blaze trail. What I mean by that is I found that I love to be able to lead and lead by example. And I got a lot of pleasure from seeing people succeed, seeing my siblings succeed. And I used to be very upset when they said that they couldn't do something because I didn't like it when they would say, oh, it's too hard, it's too difficult. It's like, try. I remember the first time my grandmother sent me to help her in our garden. We were farmers, for example, and we grew everything that we ate coming from the Caribbean. So she sent me to the garden to do some work, and I took my two siblings with me. And I wouldn't let them tell me that they were tired and hungry. I wanted them to taste the success of finishing that piece of work, to the extent that it was 10 o'clock in the morning. We must have gotten there, I would say, about 7 o'clock. And 10 o'clock in the morning, my grandmother had to come and drag us out of the garden. And she said to me, what do you want to do with these kids? Are you trying to kill them? so it's like, for me, challenging myself to be the best version of myself that I can be and continuously growing up until today and taking people along with me who want to become the best version of themselves. Until recently, I recognized that throughout my life, from age 15 until my late husband passed away 13 years ago, that God put me with a number of leaders to be able to learn from them, to be mentored by them, and for me to be able to pour into their lives. As I continue to grow and I learn from them, I also poured into the lives of leaders that are up and coming. So in essence, my life is basically to evoke the excellence that each one of us has within us.
Yes. And I love that because I do believe we each have that within us. Yes. Yes. So what do you enjoy? So we heard your early experience that you had this experience, your leadership experience started with your siblings. But in your current work now, what do you enjoy most about bringing out the excellence in others?
I enjoy sitting with people and having them think about their calling in life, what they were called to do, what they were meant to do. I love it when I see the transformation taking place once they are able to identify that calling, that purpose. I also love it when I sit with people and I start talking about how do you align your values. Now, first of all, identifying what those values are. Do you know, Robin, a lot of people do not sit and think about their values. And that's the reason why so many people hit or miss. So what I do like is to be able to sit with people and start thinking about what are your values, either leadership values, your values concerning money, values in relationship. What do you value most when you think about raising kids? Or what do you value most about your relationship with your higher power, who I call God? So once people could identify their values and they're able to see how they align their values with their lives, and I see that light, they light up because now they have a purpose. Now they're able to see how a value-centered lifestyle allows them to be able to maximize their potential.
Yes, I love that. And you didn't even know this, but just I think 1 or 2 episodes ago, I did an episode on the importance of values. And
Ah.
the title of the episode for everybody who's listening is called What Really Matters. It's a version of what you're saying about how important values are. So you and I are on the same wavelength in that regard.
Yes.
That's one more thing we have in common that we didn't know about.
Exactly. Yes.
So now I've been thinking lately, this podcast is for what I call high achieving women leaders in any kind of official or unofficial leadership role, and high achieving women who achievement is important to them. And this past couple of episodes, I've been thinking about high achieving women who are the first and or only in their profession or in the room at work or in the field or in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so with those women in mind, from your own experience and expertise, what would you say to a woman who now is listening and she happens to find herself in a role or in a field or in a professional situation in which she's the first or only woman in the room or the first and only woman of color or the first and only doing that particular work?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I hadn't thought about it before you asked me that before we started the podcast. But I always look back at my own life to be able to get an answer because all of our answers are coming from within, from our own experience. So being the first person, for example, in my family to have graduated from high school, to hold a university degree, a Ph.D., the first to be ordained as a minister, the first to start a nonprofit organization, and to be able to educate orphans and vulnerable children. All these firsts that I started, I didn't feel alone. And I would say to these women, don't feel alone. You can find a mentor, a coach, an accountability partner, not just anyone, but someone who you admire, someone who you can trust in order to be able to mentor, coach you, hold you accountable for the goals that you have set for yourself. Someone who has no other agenda, but to hold the mirror up to you and to be able to hold you accountable for the goals that you set for yourself. Someone who is able to mentor you because they have been there and that they are not jealous of where you're going. So you got to find somebody who you trust, somebody who has been there, somebody who has done that, somebody who would not let you off the hook when you make excuses, somebody who can challenge your belief systems to see whether they're serving you. All of these types of limiting beliefs that we have as women, that we're a woman, I'm Black, I can't do it, I don't have anybody to help me. It is said that when you are clear about what you want to do, the universe, and I would say as a woman of faith, God will open up doors for you to be able to find those people, not because He has already identified those people when you came into the earth to be able to help you to get to where you want to go. Your role would be, and your responsibility would be, to find those leaders, to find those mentors, to put yourself in environments that are challenging, where growth is encouraged, where mistakes are encouraged, so that you can learn from those who have been there, learn from the mistakes they've made, and learn from the mistakes you've made, so that you can become the best version of yourself that you were created to be.
Yeah, it's just a nurturing environment of growth and support. Yes, I love that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, this podcast is Leadership Purpose. So when I say the term leadership purpose, what comes to your mind?
First of all, what does leadership mean? My mentor and my coach, Dr. John Maxwell, who is the head of one of the world's leading leadership coaching and mentoring organizations in the world, he always says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. We don't lead because we have been given a title. We lead because we are able to influence people. So what comes to mind is, first of all, who am I as a leader? What are my values as a leader? Who am I influencing? And secondly, for what purpose? Why do I want to lead? What will be the outcome of those people who join me in my movement, in my leadership movement, so to speak? And so what comes to mind for me is, first of all, clarify your purpose, your values, and your calling. And then remember that you have the responsibility to influence people for the good and not for selfish reasons.
Yes, influence is such an important part of our just everyday being. And so we are always influencing someone in some way or another. Yes. And so do you think it's important to have leadership purpose then?
But of course, absolutely. In my coaching and my mentoring, what I say to the people who come to me for coaching and mentoring, I say to them, they have to develop a mindset, where they're not only trading time for money, but instead they are able to lead a resilient and a sustainable business. So what I do is I provide the environment for them to partner with other female thought leaders of color who have no other agenda, like I said, to hold a mirror up to them, to challenge them and hold them accountable for the goals they commit themselves to achieving. But the important thing is that it is important for leaders to recognize that when they lead, they are leading by example, they're shining a light, and they are also setting the example for the leaders that are coming, the next generation of leaders.
Yes, they're always shining the light, and then they have that influence on the next generation. You mentioned a bit about your coaching and your work, and since we're coming to the end of our time together now, I'm guessing some people who are listening right now saying, oh, I want to hear more about, what you have to say and what you're doing and how they might be able to get in touch with you. So how would you tell them, the people who are listening now, how they can reach you for further information and or guidance?
I'm so grateful that we have the internet And we have all these places on the internet that people can find me. First of all, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and more importantly, because I'm coached and mentored by the John Maxwell organization, because I say people need to be coached. They need to be continuous learners. You don't arrive. You're dedicated to continuous learning so that you can be the best version of yourself that you can be. You can find me on John Maxwell, www.johnmaxwellgroup.com and / Maureen McIntosh-Alberts, or you can find me at the International Center for Empowerment and Leadership. And you can also find me by giving me a call at 703-975-0539. And I am as accessible as any other leader to be able to add value to those who want to have access to value-centered thought, resilient, sustainable leadership. So if you want to find me, you can find me in any of those mediums online or through my cell phone number, which I just provided for you, 703-975-0539. I won't be offended if you send me a text and ask me, can we have a conversation around leadership or around some of the coaching that you provide to thought leaders of color?
I definitely will put that in the show notes because it's such a generous offer, not only to offer your social media sites and your website, but also for your cell phone for people to contact you directly and immediately. So those will definitely be in the show notes. Well, Dr. Maureen, this has been a wonderful conversation like I knew it would be. And I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing as we're continuing this work. We're doing similar work, and hopefully we'll have opportunities to share more in the future. Okay, everybody. So if you want to reach Dr. Maureen, she gave you the number, her social media channels, and it'll all be in the show notes. And this is the end of our time for today. Thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Maureen, for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Robin, for having me. It was really a pleasure. Thank you for taking me down some memory lane so that I can share with the listeners exactly what I am made of as a Caribbean Black woman and how I add value to people.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Leadership Purpose with Robin podcast. If you enjoyed it, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Meanwhile, this is Robin signing off. See you next time.